again, I'd like to see a Raptor or a TRX get through a spot that's this tight. All right, so I've got a little different video for you today. Today, this Canadian has been implanted down here in Southern California. I'm in the Southern California desert thanks to GMC. Massive thanks to those folks, because I'm test driving this truck behind me right here. That is the new refreshed and new model, the 2022 GMC Sierra AT4X, the premium off-road truck. So come along with me for the ride. All right, but before we get back out to the desert, let's just stop here and very quickly talk about what exactly is the 2022 GMC Sierra AT4X and what kind of things does it have to make it different than our regular AT4 or any other of our GMC Sierra lineup for that matter. All right, so like all of the refreshed 2022 GMC Sierras, the AT4X has a redesigned front end, new headlights, fog lights, grille, you know, the way the bumper is integrated towards the grille, all that kind of stuff is definitely different between the front end of this truck and the ones in the past. Now, there's also, of course, the massive interior upgrade, including the all-new 13.4-inch screen, the 12.3-inch driver's information center, which is programmable, and when added to the 15-inch heads-up display, gives you 40 inches of overall screenery, as I would like to call it. Now, that being said, the AT4X, as mentioned, steps in above the current AT4 as GMC's premium true off-road truck. And now I say true off-road truck because this AT4X is coming with some features that our AT4 and any other Sierra lineup is not coming with. All right, but first of all, if we head back inside this truck, what we're gonna see is the new heated, ventilated, but massaging seats. Yes, an off-road truck coming standard with massaging seats. And not only do they feel good with the extra bolster there, they look amazing too with that awesome red stitching and the great white piping that goes outside of these seats on the AT4X. Of course, we also get the all-new electric shifter mated to the paddle shifters you're gonna see up on the steering wheel as well. Oh yeah, and of course it has a sunroof, but do you know what else is up there? It is a suede headliner. Again, we are talking about an off-road truck with the most premium of features in the inside of it as well. And then performance-wise, we have the one and only choice of the 6.2-liter V8 with 420 horsepower and 460 foot-pound of torque, plus the addition of front and rear e-lockers, one-pedal drive, the amazing Multimatic DSSV suspension, which, by the way, is a Canadian company, for those of you who didn't know, and we will talk about all those things here shortly. And as far as the configuration of the truck, by the way, it is only available in the crew cab trim with the 5'8" box. Oh, and lastly, before we get to the actual performance and back to the off-road, did I mention that this truck also comes standard with the multi-pro tailgate with the kicker stereo system inside? I'm not kidding you, this thing is awesome. All right, but enough of the overview. Let's talk about the ride of this truck. And by the way, I do apologize. I'm feeling under the weather since I've been back, so I apologize for my voice through this. But hopefully, you know, some of the footage will make up for, you know, for the voiceover here that I'm doing. But as you can see here by the map, we traveled quite a fair distance from the hotel that we are at, the resort we were at, and ran these trucks, actually, believe it or not, from full to empty. It was a full day out in the desert. But first of all, I want to talk about my actual on-road impressions of this truck. I think I expected there obviously to be some amazing off-road capabilities, all the things I just mentioned, and obviously all the things I've read about the truck and so on. But what I have to say was I was ultra impressed with the on-road drive. It was quite a distance for us to get to the desert. We were on the freeway. We were on some twisty, turny, two-lane highways with some dips in it. And we were going some decent speeds, some fair speeds. And what I have to say was I was just so impressed with little body roll, the quietness of the truck. There was basically no noise to the truck. Again, we're talking about a truck that has a 2-inch factory lift. We're running on dirt track tires, but it was a quiet ride, no body roll. And the suspension, now, just as a heads up, I've obviously talked, to a number of people at this event, and one of them was my good friend Tim from Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. And one of the things we talked about was, generally what happens with a truck like this is there has to be a compromise, right? Because it's either you're going to have better off-road capability or better on-road capability due to the suspension, because you either need to be stiff or soft, right? Well, the thing about this truck and what really surprised me was the fact that the on-road capability with these Multimatic DSSV, which you don't have to touch these shocks, by the way, they're intuitive, they know what to do under the certain circumstances, was mind-blowing. It actually, if I could tell you this firsthand, as much as I absolutely love the AT4, I found that the AT4X rode better even on the road, despite having the capabilities that we're going to talk about here in a second of the off-road abilities that it has. All right, so finally we are out here in the vehicle. We've been driving it for a little while in this new AT4X off-road here in the desert. Quite different climate than I'm used to up in Canada, but the guy next to me, Steve from Off-Road Expo, is used to this kind of stuff. He actually has an 05 Colorado that he races off-road. You've got a 19 Silverado you've got some suspension set up on too, yes, right? I do. And the cool part, what I'm learning from Steve, is even with a higher end suspension setup that he has in his Silverado, we're noticing that the Multimatic DSSV suspension, without question, is high end suspension, right? I mean,
it is. Absolutely. It's been keeping the truck to the ground regardless of the whoops or the washboards that we've been going over. It's made sure the tires have maintained contact.
And we've been touching, what, 50 miles an hour in some spots. Obviously, there's other spots where we're really creeping and crawling through, of course, obviously. We've been just moments ago utilizing the one pedal drive. And if you don't know what that is, essentially you put the vehicle in terrain mode, in four-wheel drive, and when you let off the pedal, it actually slows the vehicle down to the point of actually essentially braking the vehicle. Yep. So that allows you to concentrate on, you know, what it is you're doing, how you're driving, rather than going back and forth onto that brake pedal. Some other things too, you know, it's just how steady the truck's been keeping. We've been hitting some pretty good washboards, obviously. And then I've got some video I'll be showing too of, you know, climbing up in some pretty tight areas where we were using the actual e-locker on this, and we just had the rear e-locker when you're driving that. Yeah. So anyways, I'll be bringing you some more stuff, but so far so good, so great actually, as far as how this is performing off-road. All right, so as you can see at this point of the ride, Steve and I were very impressed with the off-road capabilities of the AT4X, and it even got better when we went to a place called Diablo Drop. And yes, it's basically as it sounds. It is literally a very steep drop with very aggressive terrain, actually almost a wave of terrain as you're going down. Now, as I just mentioned when I was talking there during the drive, one of the things that we utilized was that one pedal drive when we were going down this steep, very rough decline. And to say it was impressive would be an understatement, because essentially we had to basically give the truck gas in order for it to continue to go. As soon as you have your foot off the brake at that low speed, it basically brings that truck to a stop. If you're going a little bit faster, of course, it slows it down. But when you're already at those creeping and crawling, speeds, it definitely slows it down quite a bit. Again, to that stop. So, you know, that was one of the things I was very impressed with. I was very impressed, of course, with how the suspension even handled, you know, the differences of that aggression going down there. And on top of all that, wow, if you get one of these trucks, let's talk about the rock sliders for a minute. In fact, actually, let's hear these rock sliders around that side of that truck as we're going down. Do you see what I mean? They were literally on those sliders as we were going down those kind of waves of the dirt. Definitely protected the bottom. Bottom of those doors would have been pretty damaged heavily if you didn't have those rock sliders. So again, if you're planning on doing any real sort of off-roading with the truck, make sure to get those rock sliders, because they're not a standard feature. So make sure you order them with the truck. Now, the other thing that I really liked about this truck was the actual camera. So the forward-facing camera on this was a lifesaver when you were going on a steep decline, or of course on a steep incline. In fact, I even found it more useful almost in the steep incline, because what was happening was that you couldn't see, of course, with the hood being up, you couldn't see in front of you, right? You couldn't see the terrain in front of you. Well, the camera allowed you to see that view much, much better. And the really cool feature about it that I learned on this drive was the fact that you could actually, when you hit the the front windshield washer, it will actually wash the camera, which was, you know, super important when we were out in that dusty environment. You're not going to get out of the truck every time and wipe it off and get back in. So it's really cool. You can just hit the front windshield washers, and it would, clean that camera for you as well. And then another part of this truck I'm super impressed with is something that some people had been bashing when the introduction of this truck came out, which is, why didn't they make the truck wider? Why isn't it wider like a Raptor or a TRX? Well, as I talked about at the very top of this video, there's a reason for that. It's because we could actually get some areas that I believe that those trucks cannot get. We were going through some very tight quarters, rocky areas where we weren't worried about slicing the tire or, of course, damaging the side of the truck. It allowed us to go to some pretty cool places that maybe those other trucks just wouldn't allow you to get to. So after this drive, my thoughts on this truck have completely changed from what I originally thought. Of course, I saw the specs. I thought this is a great looking, cool truck with some cool features in it, but I probably would have put my money down on an AT4 simply because I figured, what is really the difference for the price? By the way, the price of the AT4X comes in at just a hair over $79,000 US. That's including the $1,695 destination fee. But listen, after driving this truck, it is not even a question. If I'm already in the upper echelon of spending for a truck in that AT4, I am going to be getting that AT4X all day long for the combination of everything. Of course, as I showed you and as we've talked about, the off-road capabilities are outstanding on the off-road. But again, the compromise is usually given up for the on-road. In this case, it was not. I love the on-road ride. In fact, again, I think it rivals, if not better, than our current AT4. So when you add all those things together, plus the massaging seats, the kicker stereo system, the different seats, all these features that I would have, tried to add as much as I could in an AT4 anyway, I can get them in the AT4X standard. It's done with, I got that awesome 6.2 liter in it. Man, I just am so thankful that I got a chance to actually drive this off-road so that I can relay all this stuff onto you folks, because again, what a great truck, premium off-road truck designed, delivered to us by GMC. Listen, if you have any questions about this truck, what I found out when I was on the ride, please comment below. I would love to answer them for you. As always, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Take care.